Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is the fourth lesson in the reading practice videos, تدريبات في القراءة, where we're going to focus on silent letters, except in this lesson we're going to look into the verses of the Quran, and they are divided and organized by level: the mubtadi, beginners, mutawassit, the intermediate level, and the mutaqaddim, the advanced level. So you can start whichever group you'd like to. We'll start with the mubtadi here. Let's take the first example. This is an ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It reads, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. But before color coding, I wanted to explain several signs. This is very important that you understand these in order to read the Quranic text correctly. So the first sign is this sign on top of Hamzat al-Wasl. So this sign, we call it head of the Sad. Head of the Sad. So the Sad, the Arabic Sad, is drawn like this. This is the full Arabic Sad. And it's actually an abbreviation for the word wasl. Remember, this is called Hamzat al-Wasl. So it's the wasl, it means connection, connective. And it here is represented over the Hamza by a small sad, or more specifically the head of the sad. That's what it's called. So in every Hamza wasl in the Quran, there is a head of a sad on top of it, like on this first word, ihdina. Also on the second word, now this here, remember, is the Arabic definite article, so it always starts with Hamza wasl. The same thing with the third word, there's a head of a sad on top of it. So these three alifs, they're Hamzat wasl. And it's clarified here quite clear through the sign drawn on top of it. Another sign I want to explain is this sign here, which is actually the sukoon of the Quran. Now I know outside of the Quran you're familiar with the sukoon, which is a circle-like shape. That is in general text. That's how it's drawn in general text. But in the Quran, it's drawn like the head of the kha. So it's always drawn in this form and none other. Like you would find it here on the ha. So this here is ihdina. The ha is vowelless. And as well, if you notice, it's available on the scene here. So this is also a vowelless scene, as well as this here, the moon lam is also vowelless. So we say al-mustaqim, al-mustaqim. Sukoon on the lam and sukoon on the scene. And the third sign I wanted to explain are actually these small letters, the mini letters that sometimes appear above or between letters. It's important to understand these letters or notice them because they're actually fully functional letters despite them being drawn in that size. But this is because of the certain Rasm al-Uthmani used to draw the Quran with. So these letters are fully functional, except if they come between letters, okay? So they're treated as any other letter. So we say here as-sirat, as-sirat, and it appeared between the ra and the ta. Let's say a small letter appears on top of another letter. Let's say the sad here instead has a small sin on top of it, and it does happen in some words of the Quran. So what would this mean? Now, if a small letter appears on top of another larger letter, this would mean that this small letter replaces the larger one. It replaces it and not complements it. So we would say as-sirat if this was the case, that the sin was above the sad. So these are treated differently. So if the small letter appears on top of a larger one, it replaces it. If it comes between letters, it complements it. So you read them as a fully functional letter, separate from the ones it appears between. So I'm going to click the first button to color code this ayah. So there you go. Every alif lam is a hamzat wasl plus a lam, which is in the middle word, it's a sun lam, and in the final word, it's a noon lam. The end of ihdina also is silent because it's a long vowel that is followed by a hamzat wasl. If you want to see the types or the number coding for the silent letters, this is the example here. If I want to hear the ayah being read, I'll click on the play.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
So it's read very slowly, but you see that the letters, the sun lam is dropped, and so are the hamzat wasl with the long vowel. Let's take a look at the following ayah. Now this here is the head of the Sa'd, so this here is a Hamzat Wasl, which will be pronounced because it's the beginning of the ayah. Can we find any other Hamzat Wasl? Yes, here this is a Hamzat Wasl with a lam, so this is an Arabic definite article. The letter following the lam doesn't have a shadda, so this is a non-silent mun lam. Any other Hamzat Wasl? Yes, this here is a Hamzat Wasl. The letter after it is a sun letter because of the shadda, it shows that. And notice this small alif above the waw. So this small letter above this large letter actually replaces it. So we don't say as-salawat, we say as-salat, as-salat. So the waw is ignored. The alif on top of it replaces it. So always remember this rule. Okay, can we find any other silent letters? Let's go and color code. So let's color code this ayah through clicking the buttons. So the talween shows you it's only the bilghayb, the hamzat al-wasl in bilghayb, and the final alif lam as-salah is silent. The types of silent letters, there you go. And if you want to hear the ayah,
الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة
again,
الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة.
so let's go to the following ayah and try to find any silent letters. This is here a hamzat wasl, and this here also is a hamzat wasl with a sun lam after it because of the shadda here. So this is a silent sun lam. So these are silent letters. Notice that ila, once again, it's a long vowel at the end of a word, and it's followed by a hamzat wasl. So this here is also silent. Just a note that this also is here a small letter above the main letter. Anyway, this is alif maqsura and this is alif mamduda, so they both have the same sound, but they're not silent. This is just a note on small letters in ayat. So let's color code the sentence to just check on the silent letters. So I'll click on the first button, yeah, and there it's colored. So you see, ثم استوى إلى السماء. So you see 3 silent letters in a row in the end. Let's see the type. Yeah, so they are indeed 3 letters in the end. Towards the end of the ayah, there are 3 silent letters in a row. We want to listen to the ayah.
ثم استوى إلى السماء
Let's hear that again.
ثم استوى إلى السماء.
One final example, an ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah. So this one, let's look for the Arabic definite article in here, and it's right there at the end of the ayah. So this is Hamzat al-Wasl and a Nun Lam after it because there's no shadda here. So it's read Al-Muflihun, Al-Muflihun, and the Hamza will become silent in the reading process. I wanted to explain one final sign that appears in the Quran and doesn't appear a lot, but it's there, and it's actually this sign. You know this as the sukoon outside of the Quran in general text, but inside the Quran, this is the real sukoon. This is the real sukoon that means that the letter below it doesn't carry a specific mark. So it's you can say vowels. But this sign, the sukoon we're familiar with, if it appears in the Quran, what it means is the letter below it is actually silent. So you see it appears in this word ulaika, and also here in this word is also ulaika. So what this means is that this letter here, the waw here, is written but not pronounced. It's a silent letter. So let's color code this ayah so we can find this, the silent letters in it. So I've clicked on the first button, and there you go. You see this waw here is silent, ulaika in the first word, or the other ulaika. So they're both silent. We don't read ulaika, we say ulaika, ulaika. And then al-muflihun, hamzat al-wasl is also silent. If you notice, we say ulaika ala hudan, hudan min rabbihim. So we don't say huda min rabbihim. So the alif maqsuri here is also silent because any letter after the tanween is not pronounced as well. So if we want to look at the types, there you go, the explanation of the main types of silent letters. And if you want to hear the Quran verse being read, so click on the play button.
أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون.
So we don't say أولئك, أولئك. No, he's just reading the alif with a dhamma. أولئك, أولئك. So the waw is silent. Let's listen to that again.
أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون.
Let's add one more example. I want you to see the effect of the sukoon within the Quranic text. So I'm going to color code this ayah, and these here are the silent letters. If we want to check the sukoons, the sukoon you're familiar with is right here and also right here. Remember, this is the sukoon you are familiar with in general text. In the Quranic text or the Quranic verses, this here is the real sukoon. Okay, and the function of this circle-like sukoon is very different from that. So what is it? What is the effect of this sukoon on the letter it appears on? The effect is that it becomes totally silent. So we don't say here la tufsidua. No, the alif is ignored because of this small circle on top of it. We say la tufsidu. The same thing here. The alif here is silent and so omitted in pronunciation. So we don't say qalu. No, we say qalu innama. So we jumped over this letter. And of course, if we're gonna discuss this from the grammar point of view, that this waw here is the waw of the group, waw al-jama'a, and it usually has an added a letter to it, and specifically an alif, which is called the distinctive alif, just to distinguish it between a normal waw within a verb and between the pronoun itself, the waw of the jama'ah. Anyway, in the Quran, to make it clear and simple, this sukoon is added onto the letter to show you now this letter here is silent. This letter here is silent. Okay, so this was another example on this sukoon mark. شكرا لحسن الاستماع. You can download the complete file for further practice.